I'd like to walk you through what we call the Contender Method, which is essentially the steps that happen from the time that somebody signs an agreement with us until they're actually open for business. And there's a couple key steps we'd kind of like to walk you through. The first one is that after you sign an agreement with us, we begin the process of site selection. That's when you are assigned to our real estate agency. Within a couple of days, you're going to have a meeting with the agency and they're going to start the demographic study on your particular region. If you're interested in a part of a city, the study is actually going to happen over the entire city, because what we want to do is identify what we call site targets within your city. Those are essentially these little half-mile radiuses that identify where the best places are to put a Contender Esports location. Once you have the site targets established with our real estate agency, that takes about a couple of weeks. They're going to get that study to you, have a conference call with you, go over all of the reports, and it's a pretty significant report about what they found, and then identify those targets for you. You're going to then let them know what targets are most interesting to you. So it might be places that are closest to your home, or places that are closest to your business, or something else. But if there are, for instance, let's say 6 or 7 really strong ones in your city, you might say you like number 2, 4, and 6. And so what happens is that the agency is then going to pull all of the available inventory that meets our vanilla shell requirements. In other words, the buildings that are closest to what we are looking for you in those particular site targets. Once they identify those buildings, they'll begin to send those to you and kind of help you to funnel those down into the ones that are the best suited for your particular location. Once they have that narrowed down to maybe 3 or 4 or 5 that are really strong, they'll make arrangements with you to begin taking a closer look at those until you get one that you really like, and then they will issue what's called an LOI for you, a letter of intent, and that way they can begin the discussion with the landlord and ultimately get the lease for you. Once that lease is established, you'll move on to the next step, which is you'll start your business training. You can actually start this before you find a location if you would like to. This business training is meant to give you foundational business training that some people just don't have. If you happen to already run franchises or you've already run your own business, a lot of this may be redundant, but we just want to make sure that you have kind of the fundamental accounting things, HR things, marketing principles, those kinds of things at your disposal. This does happen online. It takes about 3 weeks to do. You can just do it in little hour-long segments, and we do check on you to make sure that you do complete these things. And that way, it's pretty innocuous, but it's very, very helpful. But by having those things studied, then when we're having conversations about business later, we at least know that we're speaking the same language and that there's not any kind of conflict there in terms of just basic principles of running a business. So you'll do that on your own while the site selection is happening or after the LOI is issued. The next thing that happens is that once a lease is in place, then we will get the drawings from you, or not the drawings, but the measurements from you on that particular space that you are going to lease. Once we have those measurements, the overhead designs will begin for you. They take about 3 days. We'll take the space. Our designers will design out an exact store for you on your exact space. We'll get those overheads over to you so that you can see how many seats are there, where the counter is going to be, where the retail and the merchandise is going to be. You'll see everything as an overhead. Once you approve that and you say, yes, I really like that, then we will generate the 3D renderings for you of that particular space. This is just an example of what one looks like. You'll have lots of different angles and you'll be able to look at the building from all kinds of different inside and from outside and those kind of things. We'll give all that to you. You can show your friends and certainly have a good idea of what your space is going to look like. That takes about 5 days for us to get that to you. Once you have those renderings and you have done a final approval on those, then the equipment list will be generated. It's the exact equipment of everything that's going to go inside of your store. You'll make the payment on that equipment, and then that is going to be put together and shipped in a container that will arrive at your door of your store about 30 to 45 days after you make that payment. Once this is being sent over, you're then going to, and we'll help you do this, schedule the installation of your particular store. It takes about 10 days to do so. You can use a local installer, or we have recommended ones that you can use as well. Just compare bids, that's all we ask, and we'll go over the details with you about what would be required. Of course, there's very, very clear installation details. You don't need a general contractor necessarily for the installation. It's just people putting things together and screwing stuff in, building desks and all those kinds of things. You'll then have a networking company that will come in and run the cable. And again, we'll run you through the details of this. I just want to give you a general overview. A networking cable is going to come in. They're going to not only run the cable from your servers to the stations, but they're also going to set up your network for you as well. And then we'll also do the game installation. So that happens under the site design, and you can just kind of see the time frame here. The next thing that happens is that you're going to get your training and your setup. Once the store is completely done, networking is done, everything is installed, then we will come out with our trainers. We're typically there for 7 to 10 days. We're doing the final installation on the games. We're testing all the games, making sure they're okay. We're then working with your staff. If you have a couple staff members, to teach them how to take payments is very, very easy. How to update payments, how to update time for customers, how to reboot things if they need to reboot things. We have an operations manual that we take you through. So when we're going through that, it takes a couple of days for the actual training to happen. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have 1 week that we call free week, and during free week we are helping you, and you'll have these before we get there, to hand out cards to let potential customers know that they can come in and play for free for a certain week. The reason why we're doing that is because we test the equipment during that time, we test the games during that time, we work with your staff to make sure there's no problems. To be honest with you, there's a lot of downtime because people are coming in and playing, and there's not a lot of maintenance that needs to happen. We just want to be there for security, if nothing else. It's also a great time for us to begin to get merchandise out, to let people see really what the business is all about, and really to tell their friends. The other thing about the free marketing week is that it does benefit you as a franchisee to test everything, but it also is a great way for people to come and try everything out for free, see how much they love it, and then go tell their friends. And then you can also sell the memberships and things like that during that particular week. You'll then be open for business. We will be helping you with connections with local clubs in your particular city. We're doing tournament training to teach you how to do the tournaments and how to run those. One of the things that we will do with you is to find a local on a local gamer who has the most viewership on Twitch in your particular market, and then we'll work out a deal with them to have them broadcast. We'll live broadcast them into your store in exchange for some branding that they can do on Twitch for your for Contender. We'll put into place Thursday Ladies Night, which is a free ladies night that you'll have. We'll make connections with local media, and then obviously we'll start working with universities with you as well. And again, this is a lot of activity in the first 2 weeks, but it will get you open for business. It's a very simple system about how all this happens. It's not nearly as complicated as a lot of businesses. And again, once you're up and running, it's very, very much self-serve. If you've not seen the video on how we take payments, I would recommend you go on YouTube and find that video, and that will explain kind of how the payment methods work, and then how it's very much self-serve for the customers after that. And that is the method that we use to help you open your Contender.